Okay.
What?
Le- LeBron James breaks scoring record. NBA stars react to the Kings record. Legendary stuff right there. LeBron James stands alone at the top. The Los Angeles Lakers superstar passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the NBA's all-time regular scoring record on Tuesday in Los Angeles. Abdul-Jabbar was in attendance at crypto.com arena to witness the feat despite the pair's rocky relationship in recent years. Abdul Jabbar scored 38,387 career points and held the record from April 1984, 8 months before James was born, until Tuesday. Congratulations and praise from James swiftly poured in from across the sports and pop culture world. So, what are your thoughts?
Nice. Congratulations.
Is he the greatest of all time? Because
No, he's not. It's a different kind of game. First point, when Abdul started, they did not have 3-point plays. Second thing, there are more games in a season now. So that's like football. Back when they had a reasonable number of teams and not a play every day where people just crowded into front of the sets. It's a different kind of thing. So I think what they ought to do is average out how many games somebody's doing and get the average. It's like football when they had far fewer teams and far fewer games. You have people like Marion Motley with the Browns, Jim Brown with the Browns. You have Tank Younger and Dan Towler with the Rams and people like that. It's different kind of football, different kind of day. So you might want to take a look at what they did. They didn't have the helmets they have now. They had web suspension, or in Marion Motley's case, fiberboard.
mhm.
And you can look at them. Marion Motley weighed 265 and he ran fullback for the Browns. Tank Younger played, and Marion Motley played defensive tackle on defense. They had to go both ways. Uh, Tank Younger played for the Rams. He was one of the first two players out of Grambling. The other one was uh, Deacon Dan Towler, not to be confused with Deacon Jones, the defensive end 20 some years later. But
Mhm.
Deacon Dan Towler was the halfback for the Rams and also the defensive end. He was 6'5" and
Are you talking about football?
yeah, 250. I'm just saying the comparison.
Mhm.
Tank Younger was 6'4" and played defensive tackle and fullback for the Rams, and he was 270 pounds. And in those days, if you got tackled and you got back up before the whistle blew, you could keep running. So it was a different game. When you got Jim Brown in, they advertised him as 232. He just played fullback, but the man was huge. I met him through a brother of mine who was his bodyguard for a while, and that was one big guy. He'd walk through the door and block out the sun. But it was a different day. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, full disclosure, is a classmate of mine at UCLA. We were both class of '69. He was Big Lou Alcindor then, a shy guy, but very intelligent. And when you saw him, he'd always have a slide rule because he was into engineering, and he became a historian in Iraq rather than pursuing sports, which is why you didn't hear about him after that, though he mastered the martial arts and, in fact, did a movie with Bruce Lee at one time. So
Mhm.
he, for example, when he played basketball at UCLA, after his freshman season. They banned the dunk because of him. So he perfected the sky hook. And although he didn't start out with the Lakers as a pro, once he got with Magic Johnson with the Lakers, if they got on Magic, then Kareem would do his sky hook from way out, and there was nobody that could block it. So if his accuracy was on, it was going to score. They didn't have 3-point plays when he first started. I mentioned that. And the other thing is between he and Magic, they were just about unbeatable. When they closed in on one, the other one would get opened up. So I think Kareem, he had a percentage from the floor in the high 80s. So that's not bad.
So who do you think? So you think you saying LeBron is not the GOAT because
No, he's not. And it's got nothing to do with scoring. It's got to do with team play and what happens with the team. Like UCLA, for example, when Kareem played there as Big Lou before the name change, UCLA carried on its tradition with him of smart men playing center. The previous center wound up dean of students at the law school,
Mhm.
and there was a stretch of 7 years where UCLA was undefeated in NCAA play. They finally lost one game in a playoff, and then they came back the next year and went several more undefeated. So, I mean, you go 9 years and you lose one game. I mean, what can you say? So Fred Slaughter was the previous center that wound up being the dean of students at UCLA Law School. Then you had another brilliant person in there that was Kareem, and you had several more, and that was because Coach Copay insisted that his players be students first, and he would not let a player on the court who did not maintain a B average at UCLA. And at the time, UCLA was one of the major universities in the world. So I say it's apples and oranges type thing. LeBron is a great player. But if you watch a game from back in the 70s or the 60s, it's not the same kind of game. It was run and gun, and what they play now used to be known as a stalled offense and a prevent defense. The games are very low. I was in attendance at a UCLA game where the score was like 150 to 90 something, and we'd walk out of a game if it wasn't 55, 60 points on the board at halftime. So it's a different kind of game. Same thing with the Lakers.
so wait. So you saying that he can't be the GOAT because it's a different game? I'm
I think
saying,
he's great, but I mean, it's kind of like you're comparing players in a different time zone. Like, uh,
but is he the great now for today's
for
basketball?
today, yeah, well, he's the center.
Hmm.
Everything goes into the center or around the center. That's your primary scoring person, generally, not always. But LeBron is a great player, like
Now,
Shaq was too.
well,
And let's see where they go from there. I mean, I don't have
I
any with his
I
play. I like looking at it. I
well,
mean,
I measure
sports, but
I let me say this. I measure greatness by how many championships you win. Bill Russell, I said 11. Somebody in the chat said he has 12 championships, NBA championships. Kareem, I think he has more than LeBron.
well,
So when you look at wait, 1 second. When you look at Lewis Hamilton in Formula One, he has 7, technically 8. To me, that makes you the GOAT in your field. Is you have to win championships.
let's put it this way. There are things where the competition is essentially one on one on one, and then there are team sports. And if you want to talk about Lewis Hamilton, you have to put Usain Bolt in there.
He's another one.
Yeah, well, he's fastest man going. Now, I did the tip-offs for the NBA playoffs twice in Detroit. They didn't give me any play in LA, but Detroit they did. And it's interesting, some of the remarks I got from some of the players in Detroit about comparing themselves to the Lakers. They said the Lakers had more talent, but we are a better team in one sense because there was a certain Laker player who always liked to grandstand, and they said although he was a great player, that kept the team down because they couldn't play as a team. Now, I heard more of that at some functions. Magic Johnson used to give these winter parties that my ex-wife and I would attend. And I knew Magic's family, how long? I don't know, 30 some years. So there are other things that make for greatness when it comes to getting those championship rings and championships besides an individual, because you have to deal with the team. And that is important. You have people like Michael Jordan, who, as he said out of his own mouth, could have scored twice as many points in a game as he typically did, or he could get those championships by being a team player. Now, LeBron pretty much brings his team along. So did Kareem, whatever team he was on. So that's greatness to me. So did Magic Johnson. And we have others that are deemed great that actually the teams did better when they were sitting on the bench, but everybody thought they were great players. I won't get into who, but there is this thing about teamwork that's very important rather than ball hogging and let's see how many points I can get on the scoreboard. But that's the same thing in any sport.
Don't judge him, Joe Brown.